Hello. This is episode 2 of the podcast. In episode 1, I just very briefly went over my this is my life story. I did go over my earliest memory, which wasn't nice. I just spoke about what I've been through as a very general, this happened and then this happened and then this happened. But today I wanted to dive into the whole storyline between me and my mum and what happened between us, because I've probably had this conversation with people 5, 6, 7 times over, and I know it so well because I've spoke about it so much, so all the memories are still fresh in my mind. So I thought, why not episode 2? Don't know how long it's going to be, probably way too long, but we'll see. So, as a kid, me and my mum were best friends. The bestest of friends. Up until the age of 13, I'll say. Well, it did continue past this, but up until the age of 13, everything was fine, dandy. We were the bestest of friends. So there's so many good memories just of going to places, the Sea Life Centre, going to the zoo, going on holidays and things. But I could be a little shit as a kid. I remember when I was 8, 9 or 10, any time between those 3 years, we all went to America. Me, my mum, my stepdad, my sister and her family. And I have been told from my sister so many stories, about how much of a little shit I actually was. There's one instance that she says so many times, and it's about how we were queuing up for ice lollies, like ice creams. And I could not choose between an ice lolly, so like a frozen ice lolly, or an ice cream. And I was like, I don't know, I want this one, I want that one, I'm not sure. And eventually we get to we were queuing for a while, 20 minutes, and we get to the front of the queue, and my sister's like, choose. And I'm like, I want the ice lolly. She's like, okay, got you. Gives me the ice lolly, I unwrap it, and I start pouting. And I'm like, I wanted the ice cream. And apparently my mum just pulls me to one side and she's like, if you don't behave right now, I swear to God. So, yeah, just little things like that as an adult with a child, really get on your nerves. I can fully understand it now as an adult. I would have wrangled me. So, when I was about 13, which is the whole puberty time, whatever, this is where I can say that things changed. Now, we were still the bestest of friends, at least in my eyes. We were still the bestest of friends, but there was a few instances of negativity or slight remarks and things that she'd make just so offhand and out of pocket. They just came from nowhere. I'd just be stood there, breathing and existing. One of the times, I'm stood there, existing. I haven't said a word. I'm just stood there. I'm waiting for us to leave because we were going to a shop or something. And she goes, have you got no mascara on? I'm like, obviously not. You can tell if someone's wearing mascara. I'm like, no, I haven't got mascara on. She goes, your eyes look so small without mascara. You can barely see them. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Really makes me feel good about myself. And there's another time that I can think of now, when I was folding up our laundry, and I'm just stood there. I've got leggings on. I live in leggings. Very rarely that I'll wear anything else. I'm stood there in leggings, a t-shirt, whatever, and she goes, oh, you've got a right bum on you now, haven't you? And I'm like, stop, look, why are you making comments like that? I'm already, right, when you're 13, you're so insecure. It doesn't even have to come from bullying or just from a parent making you insecure. You're just an insecure person at 13. As a teenager, when your body's going through all those changes, you're just insecure. And she'd just make all these little comments, which in the grand scheme of things aren't harmful or as a downright insult. But as a kid, you really just don't appreciate those things. And definitely seeing myself at that time now as an adult, those comments did get to me. They did instill some things that I wish they didn't. But anyway, there was another time where, now the general comments and things are more so just out of spite, but this also, like this thing I'm about to say, like it also is where the emotional manipulation and things start. Now, just very quickly, I was walking to a shop or something with my friend, which very rare that I was ever allowed outside of the house unsupervised. But I was walking with a friend, and this guy was driving his car, and his friend was with him in the car. So there's two guys in the car. They drive past me and my friend, and the guy I think it's the friend that leans out. But the friend leans out of the window and shouts at me and my friend, "My mate wants to shag you." Now, as a young girl, I was very intimidated. I was so embarrassed because I was like, he's yelling at me in public. Like, people are going to look or, But I was very... I'd never had any male attention before. And this was the first instance of male attention. And I just went bright red. I was so like, what the fuck's going on? I was very intimidated. I was like, yeah, he's in a car and he's drove past and they're having a laugh about it now as they're driving off. But what's to say if he was actually walking up to us with his friend, like walking past us or whatever? What if he could, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean to think the worst, but these things happen. So I went home to my mum, and I'm obviously very upset because I'm like, as a young girl, and this is a full grown man as well. So, someone check that man because he's yelling that at a 13-year-old girl. But I went to my mum and I was like, "Mum, this happened. I feel really upset. I don't know what to do, trying to sort out my feelings." And she's like, "Why are you so upset? It's nothing. Calm down, you're being silly, you're overreacting," and. And I'm like, "Well, I'm not. But thanks, I guess." And just things like this, like if I was really happy about something or if I was feeling really down, it's always that I'm overreacting. It's always that it's too much and I'm not reacting how I should, or I shouldn't think that way, or I shouldn't feel that way, kind of thing. And yeah, as I got older though, this is where, past 13, this is where the dynamic really did shift. And comments and things and like you're overreacting and stuff, that still stuck. But just her general way of acting around me changed. I can't fully explain it because if I did, it would sound like I'm making something out of nothing. But now that I'm out of this relationship, you do see it and you do notice that some things that if any quote-unquote normal person did aren't a red flag or aren't inherently bad. But if a narcissist does it, they're doing it with intention and they know how it will make you feel or... Yeah. Anyway, so skip ahead to the GCSEs. This is when I'm 15 because I was the youngest in the class, which I hated, but I was 15 and I did well in my GCSEs. And I'm not bragging, I'm not anything like that, but I did do well in my GCSEs. And instead of being like, "Hooray, Chloe, well done, Chloe," like, pat on the back for studying so hard and, really working to get those grades, my mum would say like, "Oh, my kids do so well. It's always my kids that really are high performers because," and she always brought this story up. When she was younger, she was always an A-star student in school, and obviously it's natural that her kids would be the same. And so it's not a well done, Chloe, it's a well done to my mum. Well done to her for parenting so well and having such clever children. Which I'm not clever, I am so stupid, but it's always a well done to her, But when I started my A-levels, so from the ages of 16 until 18, almost 19. So it's only for 2 years really, but this is where the majority of the shit happens. I can't say it any other way. This is where the shit happens. So I started my A-levels and I didn't really want to do them. I just did them because I had no other choice. But during this point in time, and it was in my GCSEs as well, but during this point in time, my mum and my stepdad were having a lot of issues. I don't fully know the extent of them, but I know that they were arguing a lot because I heard it, and a lot was going on between them. Now, looking at it now, I think a lot of it was my mum, but I don't know the whole story, so I won't speak on it. But anyway, one instance, they argued almost every night. It wasn't anything new, but there was one big moment that I'll always remember. And my stepdad had just got back from work, and it was a bit later. Like, he had to do something, he had to stay late, whatever. It was a bit later on in the afternoon, and he got back from work, and my mum immediately is meeting him with insults. No hello, how are you, how was work? Insults. And she did point out the colour of his shirt, because he had a button-up shirt on, and it was like a pale pink, when it was more like a salmon colour. And they had to wear these shirts for work. It was their uniform. He didn't wear it out of choice. So he stood there and he put a hand on his hip, just resting his hand on his hip. And my mum, literally, she looked at him and she said, "Why are you standing like that? You look gay." Now, at this point in time, because the way the living room is like we have 2 corner sofas and then a big sofa against the wall. And then in the middle of the room is the table, obviously a coffee table, whatever you want to call it. And I was on the coffee table. I had all of my art supplies around me, because I took art in A-level as well. And I had all my supplies around me, and I was doing one of these big A3 boards. If anyone is listening who is a UK, or anyone who was a UK student, or is a UK student, the big A3 boards that you have to do in art will be the death of me. They were the death of me in A-level. I hated doing them. I loved doing the sketchbooks. I loved doing the exam pieces and things. But those A3 boards, I despised doing them, because I couldn't fill them up. I couldn't think of any information to put on there. I hated them. Anyway, I'm doing that on the table. And he stood like in the entryway to the living room, and my mum sat on the sofa. And she says that to him. She's like, "You look gay." And immediately, like a switch has flipped, he starts shouting at her. He doesn't go for her, and he never laid his hands on her, but he's shouting, screaming at her, "How dare you? I'm fucking sick of this. Like, stop insulting me." And like, he was just saying some like random things. And I am terrified, because I've never seen this man, and past this point, I've never seen this man act this way. Like, this was a man who had been broken, kind of thing, like snapped the last straw kind of situation. So he's shouting at my mum, and then he goes into the kitchen, because the kitchen was like on the opposite side of the house. Goes into the kitchen, slamming the doors, like opening, slamming, throwing pots and pans about. I am terrified. I really am terrified. I start crying. And my mum just gets up, and she pulls me to her side, and she's like, "Come on, we're gonna go." So we leave. It's dark outside. I think it was in the winter, because it was dark out. It wasn't that late though. But we leave and we walk up towards where we lived. Not even a 5-minute walk. There was a McDonald's. It was just at like the other end of the road. So we walk onto McDonald's, like on the car park. And my mum rings my sister, because she lived local. So my sister comes to pick us up, and we all get in the car. I'm still crying. And my mum just fills my sister in. My sister's like, what's wrong with him, basically. And we're just da-da-da-da-da. And then my mum just turns to me. This is about after an hour we'd been in my sister's car. My mum just turns to me and she's like, "Come on, let's go back." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't want to go back. Like, I've just experienced that. I'm scared. I'm petrified of that man now. I don't want to be near him. And you're making me go back." And she's like, "Yeah, let's just go back." I'm like, "I don't want to." And she's like, come on, it wasn't that bad. Like, yeah, he did overreact a bit, but it'll be fine now. Like, he's calmed down now, it's fine. Like, stop crying, you're overreacting, let's just go back. And I'm like, I really don't want to be anywhere near that man right now, mother. We go back anyway. And not funny, but funny. Very soon after this, they split up. I do speak about it in episode 1. They basically had a big argument, police were involved, and then they split up. But past this point, so up until A-level, so from teenage to A-level, is when she'd start making comments and things. Past A-level is just, or like past the split, sorry, because I was still doing my A-levels at this point, it's just full control. There's not any ounce of freedom that I have anymore. I can't do fuck all without her permission or without her taking me or whatever. So an instance of this is I was still at school, obviously. Now my school, I was lucky, I lived quite close. A 15-minute walk max. If I'm walking in my slowest pace, because I have small legs so I don't move that fast, but if I'm walking at my slowest pace, 15 minutes max. I've literally just got to go down one street, over a roundabout, down another street, and I'm there. It's really not that far. And my mum, every single school day, would walk me to and from school. Now, I am 16, 17 at this point. I'm embarrassed to be walked to school by my mum. I'm like, Mum, you're killing my vibes here. Stop it. I'm going to get bullied because my mum walks me to school and I'm almost an adult. Like, leave me alone. And it took me months. Months and months and months. So I'm probably 18 now in my second year of A-level. 17, sorry. It took me months to convince her to let me walk only the last half of the journey. So she'd walk me to like the roundabout and then I could walk to school by myself. Like, she wouldn't even let me walk the whole way. Never. I tried and she never let me walk to school all by myself. So, yeah, the control. Now, at this point, you know, she's controlling me in school. I do my A-levels, I flop. And then I'm living as a housewife, essentially. I did not go out, I did not do anything. I wasn't allowed to go out or do anything without her being there or without her knowing everything about the place and where we're going. So, very sheltered life. Now, after A-level, like I say, housewife. But a lot of my friends at the time are turning 18. So obviously, there's a lot of parties happening. Now, again, took me so many hours, days, weeks of convincing my mum to let me go to these parties. But she did eventually. So, I was going to a few house parties. And then when everyone turned 18, that's when like the big parties started. And there's one specific party where I had my first experience, or well, really my only experience trying weed. Now, my viewpoint on just life in general, I'm very open to new things within my limits. I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go sniff cocaine while I'm bungee jumping. Like, no. But I'm very open to new experiences, like, I'll try things and whatever. And especially as a young teen, like, as a teenager, you do, it's not only the way that people are, like, you're surrounded by it a lot. If you go to a party, there's going to be drugs. But some people want to experience it, some people don't. With weed, I didn't see the harm in it, so I was like, you know, the blunt was being passed around, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go, whatever. I don't know how. I tried it. It did nothing. I was already drunk, so it's probably why I felt no effects. But I don't know how. But my mum found out that I had tried weed. I still, to this day, don't know how she found out. I racked my brains. I asked all of my friends who snitched, you know, like, who told on me. None of them caved. I really genuinely do not know how this woman found out that I was trying weed at a party. But she did. And the repercussions for this are nothing short of amazing in the worst way. I got home and she fully berated me on every single level. She said, if you want to act like a slag, you can go out onto the streets. Now, if there's no British people listening, or if they're, if you're not familiar with British slang, a slug, a slag is just like a slut, basically. It's just the same word. If you're gonna act like this, you won't live here anymore. Like, she's starting to kick me out. She went heavy on the insults that day. She did not hold back in any way. And the following week, she called my school and she got me into drugs counselling because she told them that I was doing drugs. I did a drug and it was once. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Also, my experience with the drugs counsellor, she was a lovely lady, don't get me wrong. But she pulls me into these pods, like these personal pods that you have. And she's like, why are you here? In the calming voice, why are you here? So I tell her the whole story. And then she goes, why are you here? I'm like, yeah, I don't know either. I don't know why I'm here. I was just told to be here. And she's like, you really don't need to be here. Like, you don't need counselling. And I was like, yeah, tell that to my mother. I was like, actually, matter of fact, you go to my house and you give my mother fucking therapy because she needs it. So, yeah, I will say that's the first time I've ever seen my mum be nasty to me. She had arguments with my stepdad, and I've heard her get like irate with people before, but she's never directed that aggression towards me. And in this instance, this is the first instance, and she did, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified of that woman. But yeah, that's when her true colours, shall we say, started to show a bit. Now, skipping forward again, although it's probably only a few months, she met a new man, and I'm going to call him Paul because that's what I called him in episode 1. So the name's going to stick to Paul. She meets Paul. I've already explained this in episode 1. Paul was nice, but it was a bit full on. We went on a holiday. Now, on this holiday, she decided Paul's going to show up. Or Paul decided Paul's going to show up. I don't know who. But Paul shows up. On the second week of this holiday, Paul is there with his son. And for the whole second week, we did not see my mum. She left like so early in the morning, and then she did not come back until like the early hours of the morning as well. This woman was out like 4 a.m. till 3 a.m. She was living her best life in Mallorca. She was out on the town, probably. I don't fucking know. She was out with Paul, living her best life. Now, after the holiday, there was an argument that happened between my sister and my mom. It didn't involve me because at this point I was still very much mommy's girl. So, it didn't involve me, but there was a lot of upset because, I don't even need to say because, obviously, there was a lot of upset. And we're back home now. And one night she goes to visit Paul. She leaves at about 4 p.m. and she says to me, this is before she leaves. I go, are you gonna stay there? It's fine if you are, just let me know. Because again, at this point in time, I was so sheltered in life. I had no social life, no friends, no nothing. My mum was my only friend. So, to be fair, in essence, I was her mum. Because she's going out with her man. She's meeting up with him, doing all these things. And I'm at home worrying about her. I was the mum in this situation. And I asked her, I'm like, are you going out? Are you going to stay there? It's fine if you do. And she goes, no, I'll be back soonish. I'm just going out for a few hours. I'll be back. She didn't take any fresh clothes with her or anything. She leaves at about 4 p.m. She also took my phone charger because her phone charger didn't work. And I had no other phone charger, so my phone's dying. So I'm blowing up this woman's phone. I'm like, Mum, where are you? She left at 4 p.m. It's now like 10 p.m. I'm like, Mum, please, where are you? Like, my phone's going to die if I don't see you. I'll see you tomorrow or whatever. And then, like, 11 p.m, she texts me. She's like, oh, I'm not coming home tonight. I'm like, yeah, no shit, you're not coming home tonight. I figured that out about 5 hours ago, that you're not coming home tonight. I know you're not coming home, but you've got my charger and my phone's going to die. Anyway, she stayed. And then, yeah, a week or two later, she says to me, she's like, Paul's coming over. I'm like, yeah, okay, standard. He's been over before. No issue. Well, many issues with him coming over before, but no issue. And then all of a sudden, it turned from, oh, he's coming over for like drinks, food, whatever, to he's staying the night. Now, I absolutely was not happy with this. I could put up with them making out in front of me. That was in episode 1. I can put up with that really awkwardly. I can put up with them being weird with each other in front of me. But I cannot put up with this man staying in my house. I don't feel safe. Our rooms were not a few feet from each other. What's to say that man doesn't just boop, boop, boop into my room? I hate to be morbid. I hate to insinuate such like heinous things. But it was such an option. I had met this man 2 or 3 times. I didn't know him. I didn't know anything about him. Yeah, my mum had told me some things, but who's to say that they're true? Who's to say he hasn't lied to her? I don't know this man. I'm a young woman. I am not comfortable with this man staying in my house. And it is my house. I don't pay any bills, but it is my house. And I don't feel comfortable. And I said to my mum, I'm going to go to my sister's. Like, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable and think that you have to rearrange your plans, even though, duh. But I'll leave. Like, I'll go to my sister's. Nothing else needs to be said about it. But I don't feel comfortable here. I don't feel safe. So I'll go to my sister's. And she goes, well, you're not going to your sister's and it won't affect you because you won't see him. And I'm like, I will see him. He's in my house. How can I not see someone if they're in my house? I will see him and I know I'm going to hear him. And I don't want to see or hear him in my house at night. Gross. And Mom's like, no, you're not going. So I go upstairs into my room. I'm upset, I'm crying because I'm like, I don't want to stay here. So I'm texting my sister and I'm like, look, this is what's going on. I don't feel comfortable. What do I do? And my sister's like, I can come over. I'm like, no, don't come over. Like, you're just going to make the situation worse. But I don't know what to do. And then my mum storms into my room. She was speaking to me before in a somewhat calm tone. This woman bolts into my room, storms in, nearly smashes the door down, and she is shouting at me, you won't go to your sister's, you won't do this, you won't do that, like, why are you making such a big deal out of it, da da da. And then she finishes it off, cherry on the top. If I go to my sister's, then she can provide and look after me. I literally just wanted to stay the night at my sister's, and now it's escalating 3, 4, 5, 600 times over because you're now saying I can just stay there essentially. And I'm like, Mum, whatever. You know, I'm upset. I'm like, what do you even mean by that? What's going on? And she also finishes it off. Sorry, cherry on top, but then second cherry on top. She uses these words and I still don't really know what they mean. But she says, I've done it to the other 2 and I'll do it to you. Now the other 2, I'm pretty sure means my brother and my sister. But I don't know what she did to them because she didn't kick them out. But maybe she did. I don't know. I can't figure it out still. But I was like, what do you even mean by that? Anyway, my sister, and she is the hero here because she does show up. And I was like, for God's sake, why have you done that? But I'm glad she did, because she saved me from such a not only unsafe but absolutely awkward situation. So my sister appears and she's knocking on the door. At this point, Paul is here. Paul is in the living room. I am upstairs, like, so uncomfortable. But Paul's in the living room and my sister's knocking on the door. And I just hear my mum open the door, and it's quite muffled because I'm in my bedroom and I've got my door shut. But I just hear my sister, she's asking my mum, like, what's happened? And my mum's like, what are you on about? What do you mean, what's happened? She acted like she knew nothing about the situation. Like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Like, oh. I'm not in the know. I don't know anything. I'm just an innocent bystander. And then my sister tells her everything that I've told her, and suddenly my mum's tone of voice changes. And at this point, as my sister's like, because I can hear that my sister's annoyed. As my sister's speaking to my mum, I've like crept downstairs and I'm kind of like stood a bit awkwardly to my mum's side. So my sister's like telling her everything that I've told her. And my mum just turns to me and she goes, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm dead. I am dead. Get the barbecue going. She's going to fire me off. Like, I am dead meat. And yeah, a somewhat argument ensues. It's not really, it's like a heated debate almost about what's going on exactly. And I just said to my mom, I said, look, I feel very uncomfortable right now. You've got Paul here, which is fine, but he's going to stay the night and I don't feel safe at all with a guy like a few feet from me. Like, I know what you two are going to get up to tonight as well, and I don't want to be here to hear any of it. Like, it's fucking gross. And she is she. And then she goes, fine, if you want to leave, then leave. And she I'm somehow now in front of her. I think to be fair, I think I was just kind of edging my way across to the door. And she just puts her hands on my back and she shoves me out of the door. And my sister goes, what are you doing? She's got no shoes on. How dare you? Like, what are you trying to do? And then, so my sister and my mum are now arguing. I go, because I'm hysterically crying at this point, I go and just sit on we have like a little wall that like corners off a patch of grass. And I was just sat on that wall crying. And my mum just goes, well, seeing as you're going to stab me in the back, Chloe, tell your sister what kind of relationship you have with her. And I was like, I beg your pardon. I look at her and I go, what do you mean? And she says, it's a love-hate relationship, isn't it? And I'm confused. I'm like, what? And I say, like, yeah, it is. I have that relationship with everyone. That's just me. Because at that point in time, I was a young girl. I was 18. If someone gave me criticism, even if it was constructive, immediately you're on my bad books. Immediately, I can't believe you'd say that to me. Everything was dramatic. So it is a love-hate relationship, especially at this time, because I was so sheltered. I had no job. I didn't do anything. My sister was at me a lot because she's like, get off your ass. What are you doing? So, yeah, it is a love-hate relationship. And my sister looks at me and she looks at my mum and she's like, what are you even trying to do right now? Like, why are you trying to pit us against each other? You're the issue here. And yeah, I just remember my mum saying, like, this is so embarrassing. And then she shut the door and didn't open it again. My sister took me back to her house and she shared a personal story with me. And I'm not going to share it because it's quite not only triggering but just personal to her, and I'm not going to share that. But I could not believe what I was hearing, because what she'd told me, like what she'd been forced to do by my mum, and she didn't want to do it. And then for my mum to do something that is almost like a direct arrow at my sister's heart, almost. Yeah, not nice. Anyway, that night I stayed at my sister's. And then I continued to stay at my sister's for the next few days. I did go home briefly, like in and out, because we had a dog and a cat at that time. And I was just going back to check on them and feed them because my mum was working. And all throughout this, I'm texting my mum. And one night I decided to go back and I was like, I'll stay back at home the night. Now, I don't know if anyone has gone through anything similar, fighting with a parent or whatever in your childhood home. But I walked through the door and it felt like ice cold in there. I felt so on edge, and my mum wasn't even home at this point, but I felt so on edge. There was such a negative energy surrounding me the minute I stepped through the door. It's like it was sunny outside, rainbow sunshine, the flowers are singing, and I've stepped through the door into this house and everything's black and white. It's murky, it's cold. I feel like I'm being strangled with like how horrible this feeling is. And I don't know if it was anxiety. It probably was. It makes a lot of sense. But I stay there and my mum gets home and I'm shitting myself. I cannot describe it. I was scared. I was fearing for my life, which sounds so dramatic, but I was. And we had another argument, straight back into it. She just immediately on the defensive, and she threatened to kick me out again. And I'm like, well, you've already done that, so, you know, what's that gonna do? And I told her what my sister had said and also what my brother had said. I didn't really go over this, but my brother was texting. And also, he did see me in person, but he was telling me information about my stepdad and my dad. Now, all throughout my childhood, from when I was 2, all throughout my childhood, I did not know my dad. I was told stories about him that were very negative, but I did not know anything about my dad. And my brother was telling me some truths, or more so his experiences, because when my dad was in the picture, my sister and my brother were ages between 8 and 9. And then when my dad left, my sister was 18 and my brother was 16. So they'd been with him. They'd known him for quite a while. And my brother said, look, all of the things that my mom have told me, because he was there for some of it. And some of the stories just didn't add up. And he didn't question it because, you know, it's mom. And the way that she works is that you never question her. And it just, something never really rang true for him. There was always just that little bit of doubt. And yeah, so during this argument, I told her what my sister had said and I told her what my brother had said about my dad and some things. And she starts crying, my mum. She starts breaking down and she goes, I can't fight anymore. I'm like, fight what? We're not fight. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying, literally, all throughout this, I've been trying to have a standard, normal conversation with her. I have been trying to just sit down and speak things through because, you know, you've kicked me out, but where do we go from here? I can't just all of a sudden be your best friend again, and it doesn't just blow over that easily, and it's never going to blow over that easily. So what are we going to do? Basically, like, I don't want to keep all this negativity. I don't want to, but what are we going to do? But, you know, didn't want to listen. So she's like, can't fight anymore. And she says to me, I have to make a decision. I need to either forgive and forget everything and try to move on, or I need to go and do my own thing. And I just kept saying, I don't know. I'm stood there, I'm crying. I'm like, Mom, I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what my brain is trying to make of this mess. I don't feel nice about this place, about the house anymore. I don't want to stay here. I don't feel nice about you anymore. But that doesn't mean I don't want a relationship with you. Like, I don't know anything. I don't know. And so she goes, I'll decide for you. And this And I always bring this up when anyone asks me, oh, what happened with your mom and da da da, or if it just comes up in like conversation. Looking at it now, this is emotional abuse, and I can say it for what it is because it's fully emotional abuse. And this is not the first time she's done it, but this is like one of the major times she did it. And we were sat on the sofa, and she's got her arm around me, and she's like, I'll decide for you if you can't decide. And I can't stop here if you're doubting me, so I'll leave, but I don't know where I'll go. I'll change my number as well, and I'll move away, and you won't see me because I don't want to hurt you anymore, so I'll go. And she was saying, like, you're my little girl, like, I can't leave you, or like, you can't leave me, Chloe, like, I love you so much, but I can't stay here because I'm hurting you and you don't trust me. And that absolutely messed with my brain in ways I cannot describe, and it still sticks. I rattle my head about that interaction so many times, and it really messed with my head so much. And then she calms down and she stops crying, and then she says, because I hadn't given her a definite answer, and she's like, I don't want to pressure you, but I need to know what you think tomorrow morning. I need to know what you decide. And I'm like, excuse me? So yeah, that night I barely slept. This night I do think I did stay there, but I barely slept because, you know, I've got to decide everything tomorrow, and I don't feel good in the space that I'm in. It's just such negative energy and things, and so I barely slept. Because on the one hand, I'm thinking, how can my mom, how could she, like, in the past, lie about everything that happened with my dad and manipulate me to believe that that's the truth? And how can she manipulate the situation between my dad and everything? And then how could she threaten to kick me out again when I hadn't done anything? But then I was also thinking, but what if I've said or done something that really caused an upset with her? And like, I couldn't even think of anything I'd said that was bad because I had not said anything that was bad. And I'm just thinking and feeling so many things, because on one hand I've got the love and the concern. I'm like, it's my mum, I don't want to see her go. Like, the thought of her being alone is horrible. I also, and this plays into next episode, but I had so much self-loathing, or like I put everything on myself, and I was like, I've caused this. This is a literal quote. I've gone through texts and everything that I'll read later, but this is a literal quote that I sent to my friend at the time, and I said, I've caused this. Me doubting my mom has made her like that, like her crying and breaking down and stuff. I blamed myself so much. I said that me not feeling safe and me going through like those emotions, me contacting my sister, I caused all of this to my mom. I caused all of this upset. Also another direct quote, she was broken. I've never seen my mom cry so much, and I did that by doubting her. Now, preview, next episode, I'm just going to go into narcissism in general and how narcissists really get into your brain and make you think a very different way, and almost make you idolise them to the point where you live for them. And anything that you do, positive or negative, reflects directly on them. And if you upset them, it's all your fault, and you're not valid for feeling that way because it's upset them, or things like that. And this whole part of it is a big one. So yeah, on the one hand, I've got the love and concern for my mom, but on the other hand, I'm just in disbelief, and I'm so hurt because she's done all of these things, and for what? A man. You know, like, what was the reason for her to do any of this? Now, The next morning, so I didn't sleep at all that night, but the next morning she called me and she said to me, can we move past this? She was like, Chloe, I love you so much, you're my daughter, can we move past this? And I replied and I said, I think so, because even with the disbelief and the hurt and everything, I did not want to lose my mom. The thought of me losing my mom was basically me losing my whole entire world. Like the floor below me just doesn't exist and I'm just free falling. That's how I viewed not having my mom in my life. So I said I think so, because I wanted to maintain our relationship. And she said, okay, because at this point as well, I think I said, like, I'm going to go back to my sister's because I just don't feel right here. And she said, okay, keep texting me so that I know you're all right. And I said to her, I was like, oh, but weren't you going to change your number? And she, and again, direct quote, she said, no, I was just angry when I said that. So the whole point of her leaving and, you know, she can't do this to me, if like she doesn't want to hurt me, and I can't stay here if I hurt you. No, she was just angry when she said that. Just, you know, she just felt like saying that because she was angry. And yeah, she also, so this really came about, my sister pointed out at one point that our mom manipulates me a lot. Maybe it's because I'm the youngest, maybe it's because my brother and my sister gained their independence quite early on. My sister had her first child at 20 and she moved out. She moved out when she was 19, I'm pretty sure, or even 18. But she moved out, she had her own life very early. And my brother, he did live at home for a bit, but he was very rarely home. She couldn't control either of them, but I was always at home. I was always there, and she could control me very easily. And my sister pointed that out. She was like, Mum manipulates you quite a lot. And I was like, no, she doesn't. She loves me. I was like, that's not love. But I started to realise when she's, you know, when I'm in the middle of all of this, I did start to see some of it, more so with the emotional blackmail, because we were texting a lot. And at this point in time, I said before, I was going to the house to feed the dog and the cat and stuff. And she also said in a text this is about the dog. What's going to happen to him? I can't look after him if you're always gone. He hasn't got a chance, has he? And I'm like, what do you mean? Again, guilt tripping me to try and get me back home because I'm leaving the dog. I'm gone, so we can't look after him. He hasn't got a chance because I'm gone. I decided to move into my brother's. He did offer it because he could see how much I was struggling, and he said, look, you can stay at mine if you want. And I took him up on the offer because I did not feel safe at home. I didn't feel not safe in regards to someone's going to break in, but I didn't feel safe with my emotions and how I felt, and I just, everything, the whole bubble that I had with my mom, the whole, we're the best of friends and, you know, we're going to live together forever, and that bubble was gone. So now I'm left with this person that I don't know who they are because they've been acting so different to my mom. I'm like, who are you? So that bubble was gone. So I moved in with my brother. And immediately, when I said to my mom, I have decided to move in with my brother, immediately, okay, I want your keys and your phone by this time tomorrow. Come and get all of your belongings soon, because at this point is when she was going through the divorce with my stepdad, and they were selling the house because it's obviously an asset that they both share. And she was like, you need to get all your belongings because I'm going to move out soon. And complete 180. So, yeah, that's going on. I moved into my brother's, and then my brother got in contact with my dad. Also, I did mention my dad a few times during that little bit. This was when I was debating between moving in with my brother or not. my brother contacted my dad. He messaged him on Facebook, and he also messaged a few of his friends just asking if this person was actually who they said they were. And my brother, they got in contact. My dad was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that you're sending me this message. I've waited for this message for years. And my brother briefly explained about the argument that had happened. He said, like, look, something's happened. Light has been shed onto the situation between you and Chloe, and we just want to kind of figure things out. And he said, like, do you want to speak to her? And my dad's, absolutely, please let me speak to her. Like, I'd love to speak to Chloe. So the texts, and I still have them, the few texts between me and my dad, well, few, there's quite a lot, but the texts between me and my dad, like the first few initial ones, are so awkward. The way that I text my dad now is such a different, we just swear at each other mostly and insult each other. But the first few initial texts, growing up, I had a certain perspective on my dad. It was mainly fed to me by my mom, but I'm trying to speak to him in a very neutral, hi, how are you way. So that was strange. But a lot of our conversation was mainly me asking questions about what had happened, why was he not in the picture anymore and things, and he was just clarifying. And also adding details into stories and things, just to gather a bigger picture. Yeah, like I'd share statements that my mum had made and stuff, and he'd either deny or he'd correct them, or he'd say like, yeah, that's what was told. So yeah, I'd always seen my mum's version of events as the absolute truth, gospel. Like, how could she'd never lie to me about such things like this? You know, like, why is your dad not here? Oh, because he couldn't deal with it. He didn't want to. He didn't want you. How can someone lie about that? So I always saw, and no one else, like my siblings and stuff, they'd never corrected it, or they'd never said, oh, that's not right. So again, I thought what this woman had said was the absolute truth. Now, my dad did reveal that he was forced out abruptly. It was kind of like an overnight thing, and it was just like, you need to move out. And then very, very quickly, my stepdad moved in. And this is where my dad really struggled to see me, because like, one time he told me that he called to arrange to see me, to come and collect me for the day. And my mum was like, yeah, you can, or my stepdad was like, yeah, you can come here at this time. And then my dad would show up and none of us were at home. And he'd call, and they'd keep like declining the calls and things. And yeah, not very nice at all. And it escalated to my dad being harassed by my stepdad. One night, and this is all from my dad, one night they put lighter fluid through his letterbox. Didn't light it on fire, but it was almost like a warning, like, we can, because it was my stepdad and his friends that did this. My stepdad the one night rang my dad and said, my stepdad was stood outside of where my dad lived, and he was like, come on then, let's end it here and now, I know you want to fight me. But again, if my dad had gone downstairs and punched him, he would have gone to prison, or he would have got a charge against him or something, and that's just another way to keep him away. So he didn't feed into it. They also put like animal poo through his letterbox as well, like dog poo or something. And just, they did a lot of things like this, and it got to a point, it just got more and more. And it got to a point where my dad was just like, I need to stop. I can't. It was more so for me, like, he always knew I'd be fine. He wouldn't have left me if he thought if I was in harm's way. He never would have left. But he knew that it would just get worse and worse. And for, like, fear of his own life, I guess, he had to take a step back. So, yeah, he didn't want to leave at all. So, yeah, my mum found out I was in contact with my dad, which is when she was demanding the keys and my phone and stuff. I think she was trying to... I mean, the house keys, it's kind of like, yeah, you just want to control when I can come in the house and when I can't. But for my phone, I don't know if she genuinely just wanted my phone just to spite me, or if she wanted my phone to check the messages that me and my dad had been exchanging. Maybe both. But I said to her, I'm 18 now, put the phone bill in my name. And she fully refused. She was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, well, I can't do it. I can't just call up O2 or whoever and say, oh, my name's so-and-so, I'm the daughter of this person. I need you to put their phone bill in my name and all on my account and stuff. They're not going to do that. Like, it was only my mum that could change it, and she fully refused. So I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to give you my phone back yet, but I'm going to get a new phone and I'll give you the old one. And she's like, fine. So we went to the O2, and long story short, we explained everything to the guy, and he was like, why are you here trauma dumping? Do you want a phone or not? And he had to obviously get proof of ID and stuff, and a letter with a bill on, and, you know, all the usual checks that they do. And he said to me, he was like, oh, do you still live at this address? And I was like, no, I don't, I've moved. And he said, well, I can't change that on our accounts. It has to be like what's stated on your legal documents. Again, because if I don't, it's fraud. But it was like, we'll send a letter to this address. And I was like, no, I don't want you to do that. And he said, okay, what you can do is do a mail redirect. So you pay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. And they'll redirect your mail to a new address. And I was like, yeah, I've already done that. And he was like, oh, okay, sorted, cool. I don't know. I don't know who I have angered up in the sky. But somehow, this one specific letter about my new phone with my new details on, my phone number, everything, my plan, because I was paying it like monthly, all of this went straight to my mum. It went to my old address. And my mum opened this letter, which is illegal, by the way. But she opened this letter. It sounds so fucking stupid that it can't be real, honestly. But it's real. I promise you, all of this is real. She texts me and she goes, you're committing fraud. She goes, you're committing fraud. You've taken out a phone under this address and you don't live here anymore. That's illegal. I'm going to contact the police tomorrow. And I'm like, Mom, please, don't contact the police. I'm crying. I was receiving these texts and I was crying like a baby, sobbing. And my brother's like, Chloe, calm down. You're going to be fine. I'm like, no, I'm going to prison. You don't understand. My years are over. I'm going to be incarcerated from tomorrow. And the next day, she texts me and she's like, I've got a crime reference number. The police are going to come and take a statement. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it, guys. You know, see you in 10 years for committing fraud. This is it. Did anything happen? No. Nothing happened. Of course nothing happened because none of it's real. No, the situation is real, but I very much doubt my mom contacted the police. I think that was just one more, how can I mess up Chloe's brain even more? Oh, I know, let's do this. It's absolutely, there's no way she's contacted the police. And there's also no way that they went round to get a statement. And even if I'm lying and they did go and get a statement, they probably looked at it and thought, this is not worth our time. You're on your own. You know what I mean? There's just no way. There's genuinely just no way. So I think she tried to manipulate the situation again, using fear tactics and trying to regain control. And it failed because, despite the threats, nothing happened. So, now, this is kind of not the end, but the end. Like, there's still more stuff that happened, but this is the main stuff that happened when we were still very much in contact. She did speak to me on my 19th birthday, and I'm going to read the texts because they're hilarious. This woman is so clearly drunk. Okay, so she texted me on the 8th of August, which is 2 days before my birthday, and she put, "Hi Chloe, long time no speak," because I hadn't spoke to her since the 26th of July. I hope you are well, and just to say sorry, I won't see you for your birthday, but I'll give your card to your sister. I never received a card. She never wrote me a card. She never intended to give me a card. There is no card. The card does not exist. And I didn't reply. Didn't reply to it. And she then sent me a text on my birthday at 11:38 p.m. This woman's very clearly drunk, so bear that in mind. Hope you had a lovely day and enjoyed your birthday. Kiss, kiss, kiss. You are now being guided by a guy who is my brother, who lies and struggles with fact and fiction. This is what she's saying about her own son. I wish you all the best and hope everything goes well for you. The only thing I would ask is you collect the rest of your belongings in the next 2 weeks as I am moving. Take care. And one kiss. And I put, I did thank you. I didn't. Worst birthday ever. I got presents and I had family and I was so happy. Like, I was so thankful, but I was not happy. I was fucking hating life. So I put, I did thank you. I'd like to just say that none of this is me being influenced by my brother. I can think for myself and make my own decisions, which is what I'm currently doing. I hope you're okay and I'll arrange a day to come and collect everything. And I just put one kiss. And she put, I haven't had a text from you at all and I am well aware that you can think for yourself. You are being influenced by your brother. Now, these are all separate sentences and they're weirdly spaced out, so she's obviously very drunk. And I put, I've said I'm not, so take that as you'd like. My decisions are my own. Now, her response, I quote this all of the time. I will as I do, little girl in a big world. And then she put, your phone will stop in the next 7 days. Welcome to real world. Make your own decisions. Good luck. That's all one sentence. No punctuation, no nothing. But welcome to real world. I always quote little girl in a big world because iconic, But also, she knew what she was doing. Little girl in a big world. Little girl. She's trying to make me feel like shit, which I already did, so you're not really doing much there. But the way that she's like, little girl in a big world. She knows I know nothing. She knows I struggle. She knows I am struggling over here. And she still is like, little girl in a big world. Oh, infuriating. Anyway. Now, I spoke to her on my 19th, which is what that is. Now, the last time I actually spoke to her, the last time I spoke to her after this event kind of thing was that, what I've just read. Now, there was an incident after the whole thing, and it was about my uncle. Now, my uncle struggled with a form of blood cancer for years. When he first had his diagnosis, they gave him a year or two to live. He lived 10 times that, which is absolutely outstanding. But the only issue is that it's not something that can be... You can't come back from it. It's going to get you at some point. And now, just for a bit of context, this is a few weeks after the whole thing with my mum. and I'd gone to a friend's house just to update him on everything that had happened. And my brother took me, and my sister didn't live too far from my friend, so my brother went to see my sister. And I was there for a few hours. My brother came to get me. And then on the way home, my brother said to me, he was like, I've got some news to share with you. And I was like, God, what's mum done? Like, it's got to be her. She's done something. And sadly, he told me that my uncle had passed. And I was like, what on earth? And then he also told me that a funeral had already happened. Everything had already happened. And I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean? And basically what had happened is that my uncle had passed. There had been a funeral and everything held for him. And that was a week or so ago. My sister had attended this funeral, but me and my brother were not told. And my mom is the one who had said, don't tell them, me and my brother, because it may complicate things. Now, I don't know how some people may view this, but I think it's so wrong to be excluded from a family member's funeral just because there's an argument going on. I would not ever cause a scene at a funeral of all places out of respect for the deceased. Not even if I didn't like the person that had passed. Who the fuck starts an argument at a funeral? Who in their right mind does that? I'm not going to do that. You know. But my mum's decision, because my aunt was not in any headspace to make those big decisions. So it was purely my mum that was like, no, don't invite Chloe and her brother because it'll complicate things. So that happened. And initially I was really angry at my sister because she hadn't informed us. She didn't even if it was a contact, like, yeah, like sadly the uncle's passed away, but I'm going, but mum's she didn't tell us anything. And at that point in time, I was so incredibly angry at her because I was like, how dare you take mum's side out of all of it? Now, my sister has always been a peacekeeper. If she can make the situation more mellow and kind of make both sides see each other, she will. She absolutely will. She's never one to take sides. But I felt at this point she was taking sides. I felt she was taking my mum's side. Now, looking at it, as an adult, she was put in such an incredibly hard position. I feel so sorry for her in that moment, and I can't even imagine what she was thinking, because not only has she been told by my mum, like, yeah, the funeral's happening, this is da-da-da, you're coming. She's also then said, oh, don't tell your sister and don't tell your brother. So my sister doesn't want to upset my mum, but then she doesn't want to upset me and my brother. It's a very grey area. I don't really know how to kind of explain that one. Okay, so that whole thing happened with my uncle and the funeral. And since that point, for 3 years, I heard nothing from my mum. We had no contact. I heard bits about her from mainly my sister. She just said that it's funny, I can laugh at it, it's my mum, ha ha ha. I heard that she was very much going through a midlife crisis, which again, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, like mother, like daughter, hey? She bleached her hair blonde, white, blonde. She got a tattoo, and she's never wanted a tattoo in her life. She's never wanted a tattoo. And she also got a shit ton of filler, Botox, the works. And apparently it does not look good. I bet if I saw my mom now, I wouldn't recognise her. She's had a new face, basically. So I didn't speak or hear from her for 3 years, and then I did speak to her, and what caused, and it's not nice, and I'm gonna read the text because I responded in such a nasty way, but I was not gonna lie, slay. I hate that word so much, why did I say that? But the way that I responded, I'm proud of myself. Anyway, my dad wanted to reach out to my mum, and he asked me, he said, are you okay with me doing it? I said, do what you want to do. I don't care. Well, I care, but I don't care that you're going to message her, like, you haven't got to ask me. Do what you want to do. So he sent her a message, and it was essentially just saying, hi, thank you for raising my daughter. I don't like how things panned out because I didn't see her for years and years and years. And also, my mom used to say to my dad, you'll die an old and lonely man, or like you'll die alone, basically. Like you'll live a very lonely life. And he basically at the end just wanted to say, fuck you, I'm not alone, I've got my daughter back. Haha. Not in a nasty... I'm adding the nasty side of it. It was not a nasty message, I've read it. And then we did not hear anything for weeks. Weeks and weeks and weeks. My dad, he was so giddy. He was literally like a kid at Christmas. He kept checking daily on Facebook to see if she'd read it, because you can see if someone's read it, it has their profile picture next to the... And she didn't read it. And even still, because she texts me, she sent me a WhatsApp message, and even when she sent me a text, it still said that she hadn't read it. And I was so confused, but I said to my dad, the only thing that I can think of is that she's like swiped the message to see like the first the preview of it, and then just not bothered to read it, and she's just like, whatever, over it. Anyway, so for weeks and weeks we heard nothing, and I said to my dad, I was like, just expect no response, because, it's my mom. Don't expect great things from her. And then, one day, I don't remember where I was. I think I was at work at the time. And I see a message request. Or I saw an archived message or something, because I'm pretty sure I blocked this number because it was my old number. And I click on the archived thing on WhatsApp, and I see a message from my old number, and I crap my pants. I'm like, there's no way she's texted me. I will read this text. I don't think she was drunk because there's no mistakes. But it was at midnight that she texted me, I think. So, take that as you will. So her response was, hi, I understand you're so... Okay, maybe she was drunk. I understand your so-far-called father. I think she meant to say your so-called father. Which, immediately, your so-called father. Who the fuck are you to say something like that? So, she said, hi, I understand your so-far-called father tried to make contact with me on an old number. Now, it wasn't an old number, it was on Facebook. Get your facts straight. Please explain, I have nothing to discuss with him, and that's been the case for the lady 20 years, the last 20 years. This is me, you chose to walk away. No, I didn't. You shoved me out the fucking door. And you are responsible for your actions. Nothing to do with anybody else. Take care. And one kiss. Now, I'm just gonna rip apart this message for a minute, and then I'll read my response, which is spicy. Your so-called father, my dad, is the best dad anyone could ask for. I didn't have a dad for 16 years, and I've had a dad for the last 6 years, and I cannot believe how amazing he is and how alike we are. He did not choose to walk away. My mum made him walk away. And for her to say your so-called father got my back right up. I was fuming. I was ready to call her and have it out. I was ready to scream and shout at that woman. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the response that I put was so, pat on the back for Chloe, was so well written that I know it stung with every single word. And that gives me peace at night. And yeah, please explain. I have nothing to discuss with him, and that's been the case for the last 20 years. Okay, you haven't got anything to say to him, but he had something to say to you. And also, why don't you have anything to say to him? You've got a lot to answer for, but doesn't mean you've got to say anything. You know? And then you chose to walk away. Self-explanatory. Bullshit. I didn't choose anything. You forced me into a position, and then, yeah, the rest is history, so they say. So then, my amazing response. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Hi, insert name. I addressed her by her name because she hates it. So I put hi blank. Firstly, my father's name, and in brackets, just to let you know, he's the best parent that there is. My dad's message is the truth, and it's been ignored. That was between you both privately, but now you've brought me into it. You have nothing to say, and that's perfectly fine, but I'd just like to make a few comments myself. If your definition of choosing to walk away consists of being pushed out of your own home, being made to hand over house keys and phone, and being denied any form of conversation to try to fix things, then we definitely do differ in our outlook of this situation. I am not a liar. You kicked me out and have no remorse for your actions. Whether this is a defence tactic to keep yourself sane or purely lack of recognition for your own actions, I am unsure, but it sure is sad. Oh, I love myself so much. Yes, I am responsible for my own actions, and I'm actually very proud of myself. The little girl in the big world has become a manager. Oh yeah, at this point, I was a manager, proud of myself. Has a partner and a very lovely and settled life, for once. All from my own decisions since being kicked out of your house. I am now a person who speaks my mind without any fear of retaliation, which at that point, yes, but I've kind of regressed a bit there. Whatever. Responding to me in that way has proven you really do not see any fault in your mistakes, and I have lost any desire to have you in my life. If you reply to this, I will not respond. This is my final message to you. Do not attack a man who suffered for many years and has tried his hardest since meeting me to be the best dad to have ever lived. Now I'll ask if you could do me one final favour and kindly leave me and my dad alone to enjoy our lives. Take care. No kiss. And her response to this, I didn't reply. I will never ever speak to her again. But her response, oh dear. And she's clearly pissed at this point. You were not denied any form of conversation, as I came to see you at your sister's house and repeatedly asked you to come home. I loved you more than life and gave you all I could give you. Narcissism. I have no intention of attacking your dad, and I apologised many months ago when I found out about the actions of your stepdad. And she did text my dad, but it was not an apology. It was just to save face. It was like, she texted my dad basically and she was like, I had no idea about anything that happened. Yes, you fucking did. You absolutely knew what happened. And even if she had no single clue about what my stepdad did, harassing my dad, any of that, my dad suddenly disappeared. Did she not have any single question to ask my dad? What happened? Why are you not bothering with Chloe anymore? No. So she knew fully what was going on. Lovely to hear that you are settled and doing well. I hope that continues. I respect your views and leave you in peace. But now my dad has always said to me, if someone says, I love you, but I respect you, but that first point in the conversation, in the sentence, is fully invalid. So she doesn't respect my views. And okay, she has left me in peace, I will give her that. But she's probably slagging me off to every fucker who will listen. I respect you. I will respect your views and leave you in peace, but mistakes were made on both sides. Take care. Now we'll just let that settle in. Mistakes were made on both sides. No, they fucking weren't. You made mistakes on your side, and you're trying to tell me that I made mistakes. What did I do? What on earth did I do that was a mistake? The one mistake I have made throughout all of this is trying to grasp any kind of relationship with my mom, trying to keep it there. I should have just let it go and, dealt with everything throughout the years myself faster. I should have done all of this faster. That's my one mistake. Now, this is the last time I have ever spoke to my mom, and it's obviously not nice, but I did gain some kind of closure by sending that message to her. And I know that stung, that hurt her feelings, and the fact that I hurt her feelings brings me great pleasure. So yeah. Now, this does conclude the whole story between me and my mom. Like I say, I've probably missed out some little things, but there's nothing that's going to change the whole story. When I tell this story to people, initially family members or friends or just random people, some people do believe that the relationship might be able to be repaired. I answer that with a resounding no. The way that I view it now, it is 6 years later, I feel so sorry for her. But it's it's a really complex mix of love and resentment, because there's so many little nitpicky things that I absolutely resent her for, and then there's so many memories and so many happy times and that I love her for. It's just such a strange feeling. But if there's anyone going through it, or anyone that has been through it and is struggling, or anyone that's been through it and is over it, or, the way that I view it all is that this is with a parent. You can still have love for that person, for who that person was, maybe is more of a better way to say it. You can still have love for who that person was, but you can also resent them at the same time. I love my mom for who she was raising me. Yet, wasn't the best. She did shelter me a lot. And yet, the way that she reacted, kicking me out and things, is also not good. But my childhood, I love my mom. I loved my mom. But I really do not like my mom anymore. And for the people that always give me do you ever think that you'll see her again? Like, you may speak to her again. I don't think so. And it took a while to... Because initially I was like, no, I'm never seeing her again. I don't like her. And I'd just word vomit. But now, again, in a calmer headspace, I feel so sorry for her, but I look at everything that I've achieved since the whole situation, and I've achieved a hell of a lot more without her in the picture. I've grown as a person. I have so much more self-love. I have less anxiety. It's still there, but I have less anxiety. I have grown so much as a person. my desire to push myself. I want to do so many things. I'm teaching myself new things every day. And when I was with my mom, when I first moved in with my brother, I was a shell of a person, an absolute shell. When I first moved in with my dad, a year later, I was a shell of a human. I wouldn't even ask him. I wouldn't even say excuse me to go past him because he was in the way. I'd just wait until he moved. That's how anxious and things I was, and I can't even believe I functioned. How did I eat? How did I sleep? How did I do anything? And I just really don't think I want my mum in my life again, because yes, she's my mum and I loved having a mum, but she's not a nice person. She's really not. And with the feelings of things, like, I'll always have love for her. I'll always feel so sorry for her as well because of how things turned out. Like, I haven't seen her for 6 years, but I hear from family members and stuff, I heard that she's smoking again, because she used to be a heavy smoker, but then she started vaping and now she smokes again. She's drinking a lot more. And I really do think, and she will never, ever admit this, but I do think deep down, she really, really does regret everything that has happened. She regrets how she said things, did things, how she reacted to things. I know that she fully regrets it, but her pride and her sense of like superior being will never allow her to admit to that. She will never see what she's done wrong. She will never see any fault on her side. And even my nan, like her mom, asked mom, and she told me this. She asked my mom, she saw her a year ago or so now, and she said, like, what happened? Like, why don't you just offer an olive branch, just speak to your kids? And she goes, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know what I've done. No, I just don't know what happened. And if you don't know what you did wrong, you really need your eyes testing, because it's so evidently clear what went wrong, and it's so evidently clear who did that wrong. And it wasn't me, it wasn't my siblings, and you're the only other person in this equation. So clearly the issue is with you. But I don't really have any advice on this for people. Time is literally the only thing. And I know the whole saying, time heals all wounds. When you're at your lowest, you're like, fucking time, I've got no time. I need to not feel like shit every single day right now. I need to heal now. And I'm so sorry, but it really doesn't come. I guess if you did go to therapy, or if you had someone who could really help you talk through things and actually listen, I think that helps a hell of a lot, to just speak about things. Hence why I'm doing a podcast, because I've dealt with a lot of it, but there's still some things I haven't. And speaking about it now for me really helps. There's a lot of things from this whole argument, falling out, apocalypse. There's a whole lot of things that I've had to accept, that there's going to be so many unknowns. There's so many questions about, why did she raise me to be this way? Why did she treat me the way she did? The whole thing with my dad, like, what happened? Why did you think it's best that he wasn't in the picture? Like, what? Like, why are you the way you are? And there's so many things that I'll never get an answer to. And you just have to accept it. I'm never going to get full closure on anything. And I'm someone who has to know everything. Not nosy, but I just have to know the whys and the ands and the ifs and the buts and everything like that. And I won't get any of that. And I won't get it ever. And I just have to accept that. And the only thing that I can say is that this person, whether it's a parent, a friend, a sibling, a partner, whatever, you don't owe them shit. Which sounds abrupt. But you don't owe that person shit. Even if it's a parent, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them your time. You don't owe them your sense of self. You don't owe them anything at all, ever. A relationship, regardless of what dynamic it is, needs respect. And if one person isn't giving it, then it's not a relationship. It's a control ship. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. But that person, and this is for narcissists now, that person doesn't care about you. They don't care about anything but themselves. Narcissists have like tinted glasses on. They can't see anything. They just think, feel, do everything for themselves. It's just selfish. So time heals all wounds, as they say, which I absolutely hate that saying, but it very much is true. Like, I'm a better person now, but it's taken years and years and years, and some of it still stings, some of it's fine. It's really just, you heal when you heal, unfortunately. So yeah, that is everything. That's my relationship, or non-existent anymore, relationship with my mom. The next episode, so episode 3, will be on, I'm going to post every Friday. So yeah, I shall see you all next Friday. Bye.